We will never allow this to happen again. We will never allow this to happen again, because zvabuda pachena kuti Zanu PF ina vanhu vasina ma-principles.
Mukuru is deceitful. He indicates left, then turns right. What he says and what he does, zvakasiyana. What he says and what he means, zvakasiyana.
Now this is the Free Talk. Zimbabwe is at the passage of history or negating it as we push towards what many in Zanu PF are calling the 2030 agenda, where President Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, who is supposed to lead a succession, a smooth transition of power from one leader to another in 2028, in line with the Constitution, is now seen as pushing to extend his term of office. And this has rocked the boat in the politics of Zimbabwe. Currently, it is fluid. The war veterans are demanding that he steps down. Those who are loyal to him have hit back. And this is giving many people a pre-2017 vibe. Is Zimbabwe likely to go through another coup? Now we follow the story and we bring you the answers to the questions that worry you and concern you. We answer the question, so what? For you on this, the Free Talk, in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom. And I, your host as usual, Dara B. Now join me after this break for this I promising hot conversation. Welcome back to this, the Free Talk, in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom. Now, this platform is for all to be heard. And this week, this first episode of the Free Talk in 2025, I open it in conversation with a former Minister of Local Government, Rural Development and National Housing, a former Zanu PF National Political Commissar, and also one time a Minister of Youth, Indigenization and Empowerment. He also served in the government of Zimbabwe as the Minister of Environment, Water and Climate. Many of you would remember him as Passenger 37, none other than Saviour Kasukuwere. Now, thank you very much, Honorable, for joining me.
Thank you, Passenger 34.
Passenger 34, rather, Passenger 34. We'll talk about that number, Passenger 34, and what eventually happened. But just as to warm us up, tell me how it has been for you, Honorable, living in the diaspora and not being able to go home.
Well, it's not been an easy experience, but it had to be done. Home is always best. But also, I think living outside the country gives you an opportunity to learn and study what other people, other countries are doing. It's an experience that I think it was worth it, though it came in an unplanned manner. But it is, in retrospect, I think this kind of break was necessary. This kind of education, learning by seeing what other nations, other people do, it helps you to enhance, perhaps also to say, if we had done the following in our own country, or if we do this, we might improve the living conditions of our people.
Mm-hmm. You attempted to, in fact, you actually successfully filed your nomination papers as a presidential candidate in the 2023 general elections, and then you were removed. Let's talk about that also.
Well, it shows you clearly that the legal system in the country has been captured badly. It also shows you that there is no democracy to talk about per se. But it also speaks to my desire and the views of many to say, Mnangagwa is a problem. Let's take him head on. The whole idea was to say, we've got to send Mnangagwa packing by whatever means necessary. So participating in that election should have seen us get rid of this man, because the challenges, the problems he has caused, the untold pain on our people is just too much. As we sit in this place, in the diaspora and elsewhere, you come across many tormented Zimbabwean souls who are yearning to be in their country, who want to participate in the growth and development of their country, not just politics, but in the social economic spheres. But you have a feeling that we have a dinosaur who is sitting on top of the country, who is presiding over a very unpleasant, very uncouth institution meant to benefit a few. A person who can publicly declare fellow countrymen as enemies of the state, who has no room to unite the people, to say, let's all come together and build our country. But what comes to mind is a selfish altruism, a desire for him to have the best women in the country, the best cars in the country, most money in the country, control all the industries in the country, control all the gold in the country, to an extent where even his own farm has become the new agricultural show society of Zimbabwe. Everybody must troop down to Prikab. If you want to see agriculture in Zimbabwe, you've got to see it in Prikab. What nonsense is that? The whole country, everything is not working. Everything is collapsing. Are the best cattle.
But as you sit here saying these things, I find myself almost exactly listening to the same criticism that Robert Mugabe had when you guys were supporting and were in power at that particular time. The opposition said exactly the same things about Mugabe that you're saying right now.
Well, they said it, and I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm not responsible for what they said and how they interpreted the situation at that particular moment. But what I'm saying is in reflection of what is actually happening in our country. That being said, even if that was what was happening, so they were right in their criticisms to say, we don't think this is the correct thing to be done. And so we can't therefore subtract the good that they might have put across. These are the learning processes in the country. One would have hoped, therefore, that if there were mistakes, and there were mistakes that were identified, going forward, that those should have been corrected. You can't say this is bad, and from bad, you go to worse. I think what we now have is worse. The situation is much more untenable. The situation is much more difficult for everybody in the country. We've basically become a pariah state. Nobody takes us seriously. I mean, you have a head of state who can't be invited on a state visit by any given country. What does that mean? He's not been invited to Japan, Korea, serious countries, Germany, and so forth, to say, come on, let's share ideas. Let's go to Dubai to sell gold, and you go to China for some few medical arrangements, and then you come back and you say you're head of state.
So someone would like seriously argue, and you can push back as you want, but some would say Zimbabwe is a way lot better, because if you look at the violent elections that happened in 2008, people lost their lives. And you, as Saviour Kasukuwere, you had so much power at that time in Zanu PF. You watched all these things happening. Why would anyone listening to you right now take you serious?
First and foremost, blessed, the true story of 2008 has not been told. Who did what? And what was the design?
Let's tell it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The true story has not been told. That what happened in 2008 very regrettable instances. And I've said before that we need a Truth and Reconciliation Commission at some point to deal with the pains that our people have gone through, all the way from 80s to the 2008. There are still so many other instances in between, the Zamaras of this world and so forth, that must be brought to closure one way or the other by carefully bringing together everybody and say, I am angry, I'm aggrieved because of the following issues. Can I have some clarity on what happened? Can those who did what, just tell us what they did, because we have tended to ascribe the responsibility at times to the wrong people. But what must be accepted is that a lot of things have gone wrong in our country, and it is exactly that we must correct.
But you were in the inside, and you have the ability to share insights with us. Who was responsible for the beatings, for the hurt that people of Zimbabwe suffered in 2008?
Not only in 2008. You see, I think it is Tendai Biti who said our country has had a violent DNA for too long a time. Even the dispossession of the land in the early 18th century, 18th century, the struggle for independence, all that stuff, it has created this DNA in Zimbabwe, which you and I are now talking about. Just 2008 is a period, but there have been so many incidences in the past and even instances after 2008, which are of major national concern. What I would not want to beat about the bush here is to accept that there is a lot that has happened, but this we need to confront and bury that ghost once and for all.
Mnangagwa is not killing people, is he?
But Mnangagwa has been the architect of most of the violence in our country. You know that. You don't want to come here and tell me that you don't know. But Mnangagwa has been at the center. Just go and read the reports of what's been happening in the gold mines in Kwekwe. The reports that came to cabinet of the people who are being hurt. What has been happening there, which everybody there knows in the country. The police reports, which is why Chiburi is to live outside the country. There are files and files of investigations of what type of a person this guy is. And that's why when some of us opposed his ascendance to power, we did so because we kind of knew the character we're dealing with. But in politics, you can't run and jump on top of a cliff and say, this is what I know about this person. We adopted a method to say that this one can't. Mr. President, if we have to choose the leader, because Mugabe clearly said, even to me in Mexico, Kasukuwere, I'm stepping down. I'm going now. But I now want us to have a process of having a new leader come up. We went through these names with old men, and they said, but this one will be a problem.
But as you knew this, Honorable Kasukuwere, as you knew this, you and others were in the forefront of saying, why would you be saying that?
You must don't be like, this is bad talk. If you check my statements, I was the first one to say, the president is now stepping down. We went to Surplus Trust. Jonathan Moore spoke, and he said the leadership of the country is changing. You were there, blessed. And when we went to Marondera the following day, himself, President Mugabe, said, the sun is setting in the east. It's now time for the sun to rise from the west. And the sun is now setting in the west, but it's now rising from the west. We must get the sun rise from the east and setting in the west. So, who said, that's a euphemism. Yes, people say, narini, 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 narini. That's folklore. But the reality of the matter is the question of change of guard had been agreed to in the country and was proceeding in terms of the party processes.
Party processes that included firing others.
Party processes are party processes. Party processes also saw in the past Maim Juru losing a job. Party process in the past saw Edgar Tegere lose his position. Party process saw Davani Stole losing his position. But it was within the party. It is party processes today that are saying Mnangagwa must also step down. That's how the party operates. That is what happens within the political party. Yes, there will be processes that might see Geza has just been fired. How ironic that exactly the same things that we are accused of are exactly week by day and by hour replicating themselves. So, again, in retrospect, there are things that could have been done differently. We can only be wiser as we look back. But as we move forward, there are certain things we must never accept going forward. And one of those things we must never accept as Zimbabweans is to have dictators who decide what they want, do what they want, take our people for granted, and simply say, I can ride roughshod over anybody.
But look, I attend Zanu PF rallies. There will be a lot of people from Zanu PF clapping, dancing, and they are happy to receive the man that you call a dictator. They actually voted for him in 2020, in 2023. And they are demanding that he stays until 20.
They did what?
They voted for him in 2023.
Are you not the one who went to one of the polling stations and came up with a very interesting story of votes which were managed? No, it wasn't you. I think it was one of the other reporters. Well, then this was 2018 elections. Look, the same crowds you see today received Joshua Nkomo before. Received Avalon Zorewa before. Go check in the files, history files. They are the same who used to receive Dabani Stole at the airport. The same Glenview, which voted 3 seats that went to Mzorewa in 1980. Right? Previously, in 78, 79, Mzorewa had won the whole national constituency under that Rhodesia government, Zimbabwe Rhodesia government. So, don't come with us to be with stories of the crowds. We need to look at the national grain. Where are the people? What is it that we must do? It's entertainment. There'll be buses for free. They're sitting at some shopping mall, township, and says, oh, so and the other political actor is coming.
But at some point you believed those crowds, didn't you?
No. I am saying, I didn't believe the crowds. I know that they are actors. Huh?
So where did you bust them? Where did you bust them?
They bring in these people, they come, the people are very nice. They'll clap hands. I mean, because that's what's happening at that moment. Do them to cry. They'll clap hands and still walk away. But they know what is good for them. So the responsibility, our people are trusting, our people are bona fide. They want a better country. So if you say, Blessed is coming to address you, they'll go and listen and say, oh, because whatever you will be saying in that waffling, there will be some grains that might be interested them, and they'll clap. But when they leave and go back to their homes, and there's no substantive change in their lives, then we ask ourselves, what are we doing?
But I want to understand, you used to be political commissar of Zanu PF. You're responsible for mobilizing people. Did you
Used to be. I didn't. I'm not finished. See, who says I'm no longer commissar?
Are you?
I'm commissar. Commissar is a mobilizer, isn't it? I'm talking to the people of Zimbabwe. I'm mobilizing them. That's what commissariat work is all about. When things go wrong, you must rise with the occasion and say, we have a problem here. Who removed me from my position?
Your party.
How? Was I voted for? Was there disciplinary hearing? Was I given the charges?
You can't honestly run a party from exile, can you?
But that's politics. When you're in exile, why are you following me? Why are you talking to me? Am I not a politician? Why did you come to see me? Because you know that there's politics, isn't it? But you're a political reporter. We're talking politics here. Why didn't you just go in the streets there and interview everybody? You're talking about the real substantive issues about the country. That's politics.
Did you at any point budget that the military would step in during the 2017 coup?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that there was the data, the intelligence about it. But you also think that because there are certain laws in the country, there are certain protocols, they stepped in. Ultimately, that's what we're now dealing with. And the courts legalized. Well, but they are now legal, isn't it? Stepping in, a coup is now a legal phenomenon in our country. The Chwasha judgment speaks to that. It says, among others, methods that can be used to remove a government: elections, resignations, or when the military manages military-assisted transitions. Is it not legal? You wrote about it. You covered it. So it's now part of the statutes. Nobody is going to challenge that position, by the way. So no, the military can't be involved. It is now a fact of life that if tomorrow the military come in the streets and the people come together and they moderate, it's one of the methods. I'm talking about what is existing in terms of the law. That's the High Court ruling. Was it changed? Maybe I've been out of circulation. But as far as I'm concerned, we didn't think it was going to get to that stage. However, this is what happened. This is the reality of what happened. And this is what we're dealing with.
There's calls for President Emmerson Mnangagwa to step down from war veterans and other voices in Zimbabwe. Do you think that this could be a second 2017 Lodi?
Well, I think it's not the second 2017 alone. It is a Mgagao process, which starts with Governor Stole being ousted from the leadership of Zanu. President Mugabe, the constituents we are talking about, the war veterans, like them or hate them, but they constitute a very important strain in our country. They're part of the politics of Zimbabwe. They fought for the country to be independent. Many of them died. Those who are alive still constitute leadership in some of the key institutes of our country: the military, the police, and defense, and so forth, security. So once a call has been made, by the way, remember, war veterans, by definition, are an extension of the defense forces. They are actually members of the defense forces. There is the Ministry of Defense and War Veterans Affairs. They also have another Ministry of Veteran Affairs, Welfare. So there were two ministries. They are commissioned. Some of them have commissioned the ranks. Some of them were active soldiers. Some of them never participated in the army after independence, but the majority did. So they're a reserve force. It's always been said that they are a reserve force. So that call by the war veterans is a very serious call. It's not a call that you can underestimate. When it was made to President Mugabe, naively then, we thought, oh, maybe it's just a passing phase. But once it has been made, and once it is based on facts, not emotions.
Do you think this one is based on facts?
No, listen to the 10 to 12 reasons that Geza puts across. Very solid. Very solid. He talks about corruption. He talks about the land question, where oligarchs now have come in to head the land transitional processes, whatever it is. But they are national structures, governmental structures. There's a parliament, there's a ministry with civil servants, there's a land commission. Geza disputes the process of the title deed is being done because it negates the reasons for the struggle of independence. Geza speaks to obviously the element of corruption, tribalism. I mean, clearly, it doesn't need even an idiot not to see that Mnangagwa, what has done, has unfairly been tribalistic all the way through. Geza speaks to children of the powerful man, how they've become themselves senior political adjudicators. They carry with them borrowed robes, power on them. The death of the generals, which Geza talks about, has it been investigated? Is it a fact or not? If he says 18 generals lost their lives and we want to know how they died, how do you take that as a joke? He's talking about his comrade in arms who passed on. So these are very, very serious matters that have been raised. And to ignore the issues that Geza has raised, then you're actually living in a fool's paradise. Once you must learn, and like you have said, okay, draw parallels 2018. Once Geza said it, who has reacted? There are certain institutions that must react and say, but you're out of line. But for him to occupy the news and talk to you, whether he had shoes or not, but put across a view that substantively has reason to be talked about in the country, and the powers that be cannot lift a finger. He talks about corruption, and that is buttressed by the vice president who was acting president when he spoke about the Ganandas. So you guess what Geza has said is not a joke. These are serious national issues. But the beauty about it is, it has been raised by a constituency which probably one would say they're the conscience of society.
Some would argue that they're finished. I mean, they're past the afternoon of their lives. They don't have any soup in them anymore to carry this through.
There is nothing that is called finished in life. That's why ghosts can give you problems. A dead man can rise. It is what he said. Let's not talk about the mortality. Are the facts that Geza put across real or not?
Do you find them real?
Of course, but is it not the fact that there's corruption in the country? I mean, when the president gets involved in stealing goats, money for goats, those two characters in prison, those youngsters who have been locked up for
Moses and Paul.
yeah, it's clear. It was a presidential goat program. So when the president is given a seal to a process, and he has pictures with that goat guy standing in State House, and from there they design a program of goats. And they are saying, no, the president took 8 million into his account. And the president, is quiet. It's as if it's a rumor.
And he denies them there.
He's not even denied it. He's just gone quiet. He thinks it's just a fact which will pass over. These are serious matters. When you're a leader of a people who have serious issues to handle, you can't be playing those games with the State House. The State House has now just become a go-to place. The fence have fallen, Chief. Even pregnant cows can jump it. Pigs are eating pudding. You just drive to State House and say, I have a deal, I want to see the chief inside. Oh, okay, please come through. How much do you have? I have 250,000 for now, deposit. How do you have a State House where a cocaine addict, a cocaine mover, is arrested in the precincts of the State House? And you see nothing wrong with that? When Geza talks about it, they say, no, Apanduka.
You used to do that, didn't you? When Geza and Christopher Mchangwa, Victor Matemadanda spoke about these things. You said Apanduka.
But what did they say about exactly what they did last time? What did Geza say a few days ago? So, no, we're misled here. Didn't you say that? Did he not say that? They thought they were bringing a saint into State House. I take it that they thought their decision was to bring the best and bring somebody who would unify the country, bring everybody together and move Zimbabwe forward. That, to me, is what I thought they were intending to achieve.
That's why you came back to Zimbabwe briefly?
I came back to Zimbabwe. I was accused of having been a criminal around the president. But because I contested that position, I said, and my late mother, may her soul rest in peace, and my family said to me, you've been accused of corruption. I said, my mom came to see me. She says, no, come back. Get arrested and stand trial. I came back, I was arrested for border jumping. I was acquitted. Not for corruption. I mean, border jumping and corruption are worlds apart, Chief. Right? Mnangagwa also did border jumping, but he was never arrested for it. I was arrested, and he joked about it in Mtoko. He said, Kasukuwere has come back, he jumped the border and he has been arrested. I also jumped border, but I was not arrested. I come back as president, and we've taken him to court. They went around again and said, no, by the way, we'd forgotten. You stole land, you stole this, you stole this, you stole this. I said, fine. 23 September 2018. I flew back to Arra, said, arrest us, arrest me. Because I contested. So I was prepared to deal with the accusations. And I was acquitted. The court said there's no case. But I realized that my life was at stake, was in danger. He interfered with my lawyers. He called Samkange, my lawyer, and said, I want to jail this guy. Can you step aside? Don't represent him. How do you do that? The whole Zanu PF meeting is called to say Samkange is representing a criminal. They put him under pressure. And Jonathan says, my brother, I can't believe this, but I have to step aside. I have the recordings of what he was saying, no, I need to deal with this guy. So it's not personal. I've gone past the personal issue. We're now facing the national question. The national question is to rebuild Zimbabwe, to unite our people. There is a lot that happened in the past. Responsibly, let's put that behind us.
So, but the president has listened to war veterans, has he not? Because right now, he's allocated money to war veterans and each province is getting a share.
But look at it, it's a shame. Where does Tungwarara come in? With $115,000 per province, divide that by the number of war veterans estimated, it's about $44 per provincia, per member of the war veterans. And he's drilling balls. So for the first 40 years, they never thought that those war veterans had no access to water. Secondly, Tungwarara has been building this expensive chura, which is now running over 40 million around State House. So he can make 40 million and give the entire war veterans fraternity in Zimbabwe $1,150,000. They're spending more money going to those meetings than the money that is filtered into the war veterans. He now has a Land Cruiser, umbrella, security guys, He's now a presidential investor. Ungenapi, where does he come into this whole matter of war veterans? Why is Mnangagwa not dealing with the Minister of the War Veterans or Defense? Is it about trying to appease them because Geza... Now, because Geza raised very fundamental issues. The response is boreholes. No. He's not talking about boreholes. Geza has gone beyond boreholes. He's raising substantive issues to deal with corruption. Answer corruption. Don't give them sweets. You see? Here's somebody who has been found stealing a whole truckload of drinks and is giving you Santa Cruz. He's driving with the whole truck running and says, no, get some Santa Cruz. There's a famous story in Kenya of a politician who was caught up at a rally, at a funeral. And when people started chasing him, he was dropping some shillings as he was running away. He was trying to make good his escape. As people are busy picking the money, he's running to his car. No, I think this is slightly different. What response is that? The war veterans, by the way, are living amongst the community. Some of them don't actually play these small games. They understand that they played a part alongside the masses of our people, the communities, to liberate the country. They want a better society, a better livelihood, not only for themselves, but also for their communities. That's why the land reform program, as they spearheaded it, the benefits have accrued to not just war veterans, but to many other people in the countryside, right? So, to then say, I think the best prize, because they've raised this matter, let's give them boreholes, which drill a bore at each and every war veteran. They're big rallies. You've got now this a guy, slightly bigger head, what's his name? Mahia, alongside this Tungwarara guy, who calls the president a vendor. I don't know what he says. They say he's a Dr. Tungwarara, but he says the presidential vendor. How does the president become a vendor? He says, I don't know what he was talking about. He says, we're going to create a vendor facility for the presidential vendor facility. Then it has transformed itself now into a presidential board. We don't know whether it's going to become a presidential GOT program. Anything can happen. Because there is no policy. It's a reaction. A cornered thief will tell you everything. I'll buy you a house. I'll give you 10 cars. You know me. Yeah. Let's deal with why are you in the corner.
Someone would argue that you are just the war veterans and all those who are calling for Mnangagwa's exit are just angry people who, some of them, expected to feed after the coup, and they failed. And those who were chased away through the coup want to come back for revenge.
No. For every action, there's a reaction. You say to the war veterans, you remember there were meetings that were held in Harare before President Mugabe's tenure came to an end. We want a war veteran commissar, we want a war veteran who was in charge of security. We don't mind other positions not being. You remember that was that very huge push. Isma took a war veteran. He was the former commissar after the other one, what's his name? Bima was a war veteran. Is Muda a war veteran? National Security Minister. Look at the police everywhere now. Do they have war veterans anymore? So, they sold a story, isn't it? That this is what we're going to do for the war veterans. We're going to have ambassadors. Maridadi is a war veteran. Nisa Yarambwe is a war veteran. Some girlfriends have been deployed elsewhere. Are they war veterans?
How do you know they're girlfriends?
But you know it when you look at it. That this one is a war veteran, is a girlfriend, this one.
How?
What is she doing there? How does she become an ambassador? From where? She has never been in the civil service. She has not been known to do anything except looking pretty. And next thing is, Your Excellency has decided to appoint you to represent our country. let's take ourselves a bit seriously, Chief. The country must be a serious process where when you send an ambassador to represent you, they mean a lot. The story you're talking about, the G40 is coming for revenge. I hear that anybody who says or who is opposed to 2030 is aligned to the vice president or the G40. Oh, so it means those who are supportive of this process actually don't like their own VP. Those who are supporting this process are the ones who should only benefit from the country's resources and opportunity in the country. Is this how low we have now sunk? We'll oppose wrong policies. It doesn't matter who's doing it. That's why I say the time has now come for us to stand up and say, what is wrong is wrong. We opposed Mnangagwa from day one, some of us. Said this one, because we sat with him and listened to him in meetings, it was clear he knew very little. Two, he wanted more than the country could afford, even at that rate, at that point. How do you answer for a president who has 7, 8 official cars, all the types, all the best cars? If there is an advert of the latest car, it must be at his house. I mean, I've never seen an African president with a Rolls Royce, for goodness sake. Even the American president doesn't drive a Rolls Royce. Even the British Prime Minister doesn't drive. Even the Germany, the very Britain where the Rolls Royce is manufactured, it's only the Queen or the King now, not the Prime Minister of Britain. Taxpayers' money. You drive a Rolls Royce today, tomorrow you have a Land Cruiser, tomorrow, the day after, you have a Maybach, you have a Pullman, you have a Lexus, you have everything. The type of suit and the type of car must be the same. And your hospitals have no drugs. Pregnant women are dying in hospitals because there are no painkillers. The theater machines are not working. As Shimono will put it, there are no cancer machines. The amount of women we are losing on a daily basis or monthly basis, yearly basis, because of poor medical services. Parental Hospital has collapsed. Our hospital is actually a death trap itself. Chitungu is a hospital. Education.
These things have been deteriorating, Honorable Kasukuwere, for a very
So
long time.
because they have been deteriorating, so you are fasting. You are.
Why are you
So why shouldn't we?
now?
Why shouldn't we deal with it?
Why are you
That's-
complaining now? Because when you're in power, you would walk around and say everything is fine. Why are you complaining now?
Excuse me.
When you're in power,
You saw me saying everything's what?
it's all right.
Where was it wrong?
There was no medicine.
No.
medicine
Who
in
says that
those
there were
I
medicine?
was in Zimbabwe.
Were you sick? What is the basis of your argument to say? Did you have
My
a pot-
relatives were sick.
No, but
I
did
took
you
them to
write
hospital.
at
I
that
had to
point?
buy them. I had to buy them drip. I had to buy paracetamol at pharmacies.
So
during
now,
Mugabe's
what are you
time.
doing now?
The same.
So you are happy with it. So I mustn't say it.
I'm asking you,
Because you didn't say it, it doesn't follow that I must keep quiet about it.
at what point
At this
did
point.
you realize
No, but you can't just say.
that what you were also doing at
No,
that particular time was wrong?
again, you are starting from the wrong premise. When Mugabe was president, the civil servants were taking home $600 per person. Am I lying? What was the rate of the dollar against the US dollars then? You had an old man with that big Mercedes-Benz of his, one. And the 4x4s around him, no, not even 4x4s. He didn't have these GL wagons around him and the Raptors. It was a small Mercedes-Benz from the police. Just one car. Zim 1 was one. What is this? Where every car is dark glasses, dark. You can't even see who's inside. No number plates. And you're coming to me to say, no, even during your days it was like that. No, man, no. Be honest. You know things have deteriorated. You know that our people are suffering. More people have left the country. Is change not therefore meant to improve? So how do you equate a situation which was bad and you say, no, it's still the same because it's still bad? Then if that is your argument. Mchamba used to say that we're going to build skyscrapers. The skyscraper that was built is the Neander statue. Show me, what else did they build? I traveled to China, brought the parliament.
You brought the parliament?
Yes.
Talk to me about it, because President Emerson Mnangagwa has been credited for that.
No. The Chinese came up with a scheme to support African parliaments and build African parliaments. This was before my time. It was Chombo. Chombo started the process. The President Mugabe was offered that by the Chinese government, and Chombo did part of the work. When I took over, the Chinese ambassador asked me to come. Say, now we have funds for your parliament. Can you give me the plans? The intention was to build parliament just next to the Sheraton, next to the Sheraton there. That's what the Chinese wanted to do. We said, no. I went to consult President Mugabe about 7 o'clock in the evening. He said, but the Minister Chombo I called Minister Chombo. Chombo says, no. We've given them a new plan at the copy, because that's where we had agreed that we're going to expand rather than going that side. So I went back to the Chinese. I said, but wait a minute, what is this? Then we put our foot down, and they said, fine. So when did Emerson become involved in that parliament? When? Just by opening. Yes, I then went to China, signed the agreement. I brought 3 plans in those, the ones which shows you what must be done, the new parliament. I brought those back from China, took them to President Mugabe's office. He invited Mnangagwa and Mpoko and myself. I said, this is what the Chinese, the models that they have. Which one would you go for? So about 5 o'clock in the evening. And after discussions, even he said, no, I think the current structure, and I agreed on that one. If that's what he said he did, yes, he agreed with me and Mpoko on that. President Mugabe says, but why this one? Why not this one? Then eventually said, okay, I support what you guys are saying. We took it to cabinet. This was on a Monday. Tuesday morning, I took the whole sample, the model, to Parliament, to cabinet. Cabinet agreed. After that, then they came to see me in the office to explain to him what the Parliament would look like. He was happy. This Parliament, because that's where we're now moving Parliament to this new building. I'm saying, which building other than Parliament? He's just been opening a few of these. I don't want to say he has done exactly nothing. I think he has done something. But let's give credit where it is due.
What is the something that you know?
The Neander statue. Just there, yeah. Am I lying? But you tell me, what else has he done?
Trabablas interchange.
Trabablas interchange. Yeah. How do you call a road the Trabablas? Can they find some better name? This fellow has got not just one name. The war, Trabablas, what? Trabablas, what? Smart Tempo, Scoringo, Garwe. He was very long in the war. With all these names. Every year he has a new name to go. We know, Parents Shiri, he has just one. Rex Nongo, one. He's changing every week. But that is again what Geza said. And there is a grain of truth. There's a grain of truth in what Geza says. This one.
Why is it every time that there's a fight in Zanu PF, war veteran credentials are questioned?
At times we build you and we don't expose certain things. But if you become a wreck, then they'll undo you and say, but you know what, exactly the truth of the matter is this one didn't go to war. You remember Mime Juru said this some time back. Say, this one, when did he come to war? If you remember one of his first interviews with SABC, but nobody paid attention. But again, let's put that aside. Let's not worry about the individual. I think the statement by Geza is 100% correct. Nyangago must go. He has failed the country. He has allowed theft to become the order of the day. He suspended the Procurement Act and now approves invoices in his office. Where have you ever seen that? Checks and balances, law and order, a president involved in the procurement of bores, procurement of oil, fuel, procurement of goats. What else has he not procured then? We thought the suspension of the Procurement Act was to give agency to national development processes. We didn't realize, no. He actually wants to facilitate corruption.
Do you think it's at this point, it's a time that Zanu PF should take a rest and allow other capable hands to lead the country? Because
which hands? All of them have kind of like dissolved into thin air. If a mayor does not even know where he stays, he's from the opposition, the mayor of the city. He's asking, where do you stay? Well, he's father of the city. So in other words, he should know where he stays. Are those the capable ends you're going to give us? You say capable ends, which don't even know where they stay. They say, no, number, I have not checked my number. Look, leaders must emerge and come from the people. But leaders must be people who are prepared to be scrutinized and who put the interests of the country first for themselves.
The problem is in Zanu PF, every other leader who then emerges, or who has emerged in the past, has always been surrounded by thieves or crooks. And you support Geza's, war veteran Geza's statement that he issued. In his statement, he says Zanu PF supporters lack principles. They clap at anything. So if we, as a country, are going to select someone else from Zanu PF, would they not still be surrounded by criminals?
If you select a criminal and you discover that is a criminal, are you not supposed to say that, no, we discovered this one's a criminal?
The question is there anyone with clean hands in Zanu PF?
No, but let's put that aside first of all. But once you have selected the criminal and you discover as a criminal, is it criminal for you to say we've discovered the criminal? Is it a crime?
The question is those who accuse others of being criminals have now turned to criminals, as you are telling me right now.
But I'm saying, is there something wrong? That's why I say, you say people clap hands, and then somebody comes up and says that there's a problem here. You then attack him. You then say, but why is he saying it? On the other hand, you say, no, everyone's just clapping hands. It takes very few bold men who stand up and say, but here's a problem. I mean, the decision by Geza and those comrades, his colleagues, to hold a press conference and put across their views is very important. You need the country to rebalance itself. We need to restore order in the country. We need to restore the rule of law in the country. We need to restore the economic viability of our country. We need to unite our people. What we're dealing with are the challenges of having allowed a wrong character to occupy that premise, that position. But the good thing is that the veterans themselves, who were at the forefront of pushing for him, have realized that there is a mistake that was made here. So let's bring about change.
As you sit here with me, this conversation, looking at your long history in politics, what responsibility, what blame do you take in Zimbabwe finding itself where it is right now?
First and foremostly, to be human is to err. There are lots of mistakes, and I take full responsibility for many mistakes that we committed. I could have committed commissions of error, commissions that I did maybe deliberately or not. But you look throughout the process, there'll be areas that I say, and this because of also this break, I'm able to say, I think on that score, on that matter, we did not handle ourselves correctly. But we could have improved on that angle, and this is what should not be done. Some of the things that we must accept collectively, the use of violence as a way of resolving issues in our country. We allowed and did not do much to stop violence in our country. Highly regrettable and should not be the way a country runs. We also allowed for a generational breakdown in terms of discourse. Perhaps as we age towards 2017, there's some unfortunate statements that we uttered or were uttered collectively that could have unsettled relations with others. Again, those were mistakes. So collectively, as a party, the question of corruption, the economic decay in our country, these are matters that could have been handled much differently and not allowed to fester. The party has tended to protect people who should not really be protected. So to every side of the story, there is also the positive. I still stand here and defend the land question. Now with the Trump story, the Trump doctrine as it is emerging, you actually realize that we had to place this greater resource at the disposal of our people. We did not do enough in terms of creating instruments to support our farmers who have just gone on land. We allowed for greed. We allowed for nefarious funding models to come up. We allowed for others to take and acquire much more than was permitted under the law. We paid the blind eye to transgressions. These are some of the mistakes, but there are also good things that the Mugabe government and the leadership did. The War of Liberation itself, bring about independence, was a good thing. We had to, and it was done. The education, development of our education. To this day, the success of our education story has now kind of actually become an embarrassment because you meet a young man with a degree in banking and finance, but whose only job is to be an Uber driver in South Africa. We did not plan alongside our education system and the aspirations of our people. What post-education, what are we going to do? We stifle the growth of our industries. We actually, even to this day, do not provide our own entrepreneurs the same level of support we give to foreigners. If a foreigner is coming to Zimbabwe to invest, i.e. a Chinese investor, he's given maybe 5 to 10 million liters of fuel, duty-free, meaning that we've actually given him 51 cents per liter into his pocket for 10 million liters. You've given him 5 million liters, $5 million US. As he walks into Zimbabwe, as he goes into Zida, notwithstanding whether that project will succeed or not, but what are we doing with the young people in our country, the youth? What facilities are there for the young people? What facilities are there to support the women folk? What support is there to support the nascent business community in our country? The one that is existing, the role of our indigenous players. by the way, when the new deception came in place, they removed the indigenization play. Now they're trying to bring it back. But it was not just about the law. It is the thinking behind it. So I'm taking full responsibility of the transgressions, the generational disconnect that happened, and we need to rebuild that. Blessed, a country is not a one-man affair. I might not be the best guy. You might not be the best man. But you know what? You have a right to live in my country. It's ours together. The land between Limpopo and Zambezi is where you are born and I am born. A leader should never think he has more power than every other citizen in the country. You should build harmony. You should build trust. You should build love. And develop. The issues at stake are very clear. It's an economic issue. Unity of our people. A people who are focused. And the leadership that puts national priorities ahead of the individual.
Those in Zanu PF believe President Emmerson Mnangagwa is capable of doing that and they want to extend his term to 2030. What is your view on that?
Who is Zanu PF? That resolution was started by this young girl called Afia somewhere in Mashungo there. She was just talking some bar. She says, no, it must be there 2030. 2030, by the way, is a UNDP goal. United Nations came up with the 2030 as part of their Millennium Development Goals. It's not a Zanu PF construction. Zanu PF must come up with a manifesto, which they didn't have. So now they are latching on to a world program. The one who must be saying my term of office must be extended because I have a goal to achieve 2030 is Antonio Guterres, who is Secretary General of the United Nations. How do you here in Zimbabwe align your fate to that of an international program and say 2030 is from Mnangagwa? What does, just tell me 2 or 3 things that the Mnangagwa 2030 plan is all about, except to say, no, he's doing a good job. And say, which one? Show us the good job. He said you'll finish Stockholm Kosi. I mean, the other dam from Matabeleland, okay. The Gwai Shanghai, and the water will be in Blawa. Has he done it?
Maybe by 2030.
So we have to wait for him. If he doesn't achieve it 2030, he's another 2 more years. You've just been given a job today. And before you start doing, he says, no, can I have 2 more years when this one comes to an end? Mkwatarisha pisa. Mshambaricha kwata. Sasa zarisa mpera kuivapa. Wato geza maugari. Kapana machikira daurita. Daya anga itandima yake. Zakanaka. You start off in the noise. The first conference after you have been elected, when you are supposed to be discussing the drought situation in the country, the health challenges in the country, the unemployment challenges in the country, the drug issue that's affecting our people, businesses closing down, lack of domestic and international investment in our country. We have not been talking about the global prices of minerals in our country. We have not talked about processing minerals. We have not talked about expanding the skills base of our artisanal miners. We have not spoken about our environment issues that are at stake today in our country. The first resolution is 2030 Anangachipo. Achite. Happy. Okay, he's a human being. Why are you so... You want to make a law tied to an individual? Because if something happens to him, akuraka mkuruya. Because no. Uno bukosora mungwano kanganwa, ne age. How kanganwa serim darawe? Actually, they are saying that he has serious problems of dementia. That's what they tell us. You're very sorry around him. You are right. Even after this interview, I haven't spoken to him in a long time. But I hear that's what they are saying. Utomsayinisa. Because mangwana makusena ndakasana zvipi zviya.
And these people these people were close to him. Why do they give you this information?
Oh, because I'm in politics. They tell me what's happening every day.
Don't they have loyalty to the man?
No, they realize he's forgetting. So he might even forget Lord, who is loyal to Mnangagwa? But you know his history in the party. Mnangagwa must be grateful for the defense forces and the war veterans who made him president. Mnangagwa was not made president by the people of Zimbabwe. It is our deep respect for those arms and the veterans that made it possible. Now, by saying 2030, what is he saying about this deputy? He's saying this one is incapable. It's a vote of no confidence on Chiwenga.
But he has said he has no interest in 2030.
Who?
The president himself.
Indicate left and turn right. You meet his farm. Now there's what we call Zanu PF, Zanu Precab Farm, right? And then there's Zanu PF, Patriotic Front, which is the building, Jongwe House. Precab Farm, Anagashin Rukuda. Kobapo Oya Kunoko, Utantiskuda. The same man is a minister who is saying it publicly that Andy Ataruda, Astistruda, but Chef Mati, and it does. When the Judge Arambo on your statement the other day to say Asruda. The following day, the Minister of Information says, the same place. This is confusion. So I think we need a new pair of hands to move our country forward because there's now confusion. The moment we gatanga sumka pa machea, ya sumka etnotoro topaji, mungu onga tune machea mairi bana pa. Umbo sumka ogara pa, odo sumka ndo ogara. Pon sumka, tozo bisa one of the chairs. Then funga ula ogara. Because iya uti king mtapa. No imu position ya rudanditi, mambo mtapa. I don't know whether it's rosary or what, but he says Tonga from Great Zimbabwe. It won't work like that, Chief. Let's put the Zimbabwe agenda on the table. Let's have a pair of hands that moves our country forward. Let's respect the values of the liberation struggle. Let's respect each other. Let's respect our people. Let's think about that child, Argumondoro, Komasaraure. Let's think about that child in Hurungwe who has no school or who has no books. Let's think about that malaria-affected baby in Omei communal lands who can't get basic malaria chloroquine tablets. Let's remember the youngsters in Chendambwe.
But you knowing President Emerson Mnangagwa, because you worked with him, do you think that he would push through with the 2030 agenda?
Pushing through what? Antibagam Vise. No, Mnangagwa is technically fighting. Once those war veterans they say the rapera bases, how to pay Ramcom? He's hanging around. But the truth of the matter is he's gone. The most critical branch in Zanu PF is that thing called war veterans.
But he said he's the father of security.
He is not father. How old is he to be father of everyone?
He said he's the father of...
he let him see how the father is going to go away. He talks of father. To those fathers also. Are they not the same age? Nageza.
His vice president seems to be supporting him. Just a few days ago, he said that the president is the boss. He's the only one who was elected.
What do you want him to say? Just tell me, what do you want him to say? It's the people who are saying one Chiwenga. It's the institution. That's what Geza was saying, right? We want Chiwenga to continue. Because Chiwenga has struck the right note, right chord with the people. He said, we have corruption, which has now become a national security threat. He said that the hero of Zeka. And it is those statements we listen very carefully to. Chiwenga goes ahead and says, this Mbinga culture, Gananda, he's a man of very few words. But at times he says certain things that should actually help you to say, what is he saying? What does he mean? You can't also ignore his contribution and role in the country as young men fighting for the independence of our country, developing himself within the security forces. I've worked with Chiwenga. I know him pretty well. He was committed to his work, even in the defense forces. We carried out several missions together in Mozambique during the Renamo War. He would be at the forefront fighting. So you also have to understand that this one has love for his country. He's a human being, by the way. I can't say he's 100% perfect. But when I listened to him at the Heroes Act, I said, hallelujah. This one now sees what's happening in the country. And by saying so, it's not an easy thing. But thereafter, what more do you want him to say? You want him to say, oh, no, I don't want to talk to Mnangagwa because of this. No. In a mature world, the messages that have been given to Mnangagwa should have allowed him to actually say, it's over. I need to make way. Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau was told by his people that, no, I think you must step down. He went on television and said, no, in the best interest of Canada, I'll be stepping down and let my party make a choice in the people of Canada. We need to get to that stage where once a loss of confidence has been expressed by some key sectors, and if certain things are said, and you're in charge of a country, and there is Gananda, Tamba Panache, when theft has become the first priority, when the national airport is a smuggling zone, when cocaine can be found in State House, when there are more cars in State House than in the district hospitals of the country, my GLE, my Raptors. And guys, in a country where cars are given like confetti, Tamba Stereo, so excited, Mata. In a normal country.
Doesn't that show that we are rich as a nation?
My God.
We donate cars.
And that is richness. I don't know what madness is. That's very low. To sit as a country where we need to build technical colleges, to empower our young miners, to teach them processing, looking after the environment, getting our agricultural systems to work. There's a lot that can be done in Zim. Where is the youth facility for youngsters to have access to funds? You remember we did it? You can't compare us and them. The young man minister of youth is clueless. I don't go to Zandwana. He said, no, okanakwira bere zone zakuburuka. Ndakwiraji bere nchazapo kujambira. So parikufamba mapere, nyika yaita yemapere, when you are describing a country as makazara mapere, so blessed, the discussion in Zimbabwe yakuti gazirise nyika yedu is now what Geza has been talking about. And I've said, I agree with Geza. We can't be scared. The moment Mnangagwa spoke about 2030, I said, where is Sabaso? The moment I saw people trying to say, no, he is going to be here, immediately, you are saying you don't even want to continue. Because watu jamba, Takupa makapetia, What the put here is going to be routine next of all of this. And just as language. Those who have assisted you to have these 2 cups of tea will say, a lot of Torahs, visa hip hop. So the moment those guys who are running the 2030 mantra started running with it, they should have realized that they're actually getting their boss fired. It's not Mnangagwa, it's a system. There is what we call cohesive instruments of power that work in a political system. You ignore those at your own peril.
You've recently come under attack from Minister Daniel Gal. He's been insulting you.
I can't answer Garwe. He's a non-entity. Garwe is just is a sorry case of a young man who lacks balance. I know Garwe well. He's excitable. He has a good voice, but just nothing else. I mean, he has a local government portfolio, which is seeing people drinking black water. You know what black water is? He's doing nothing about that. He's busy running around and meeting councillors and talking about 2030. When there's chaos in the city of Harare, when there's no water, service delivery has collapsed. His insults, I feel sorry because I think, look, my brother, Matema Danda said something that I still credit him for saying it. And I think Matema Danda was right. Akati, kana wakambona, zvadaizvi, bvunza vakambofamba mazviri, kuti zvinorevei, you remember? Aitaura na president kana wakambona, tadaizvi, bvunza kuti zvinorevei. We should learn. Some of us have been there, my chief. Kana zvidara zvehondo zvadecide like zvazvikuita izvi. Ngaamboita Garwe. Aita mutete. I mean, I see the excitement. I say, no, takambopfurwa namo. Kumunga hakuna chi. Unoteerwa ma 4x4 mairi. Omuka wangwa makusena uchimanya zvakasimba chaizvo. Ende ndangoti ama9. Hama yangu yakuita munyama neministry of local government zvinoona zvavoita uyo futi. Ndikuti naye Garwe. Ndibvunzewo kana ndakambe ndiri muofisi mauri imomo. Nezvauri kuita izvi. Unoonwa isina mukaka. So his insults to me, Garwe is not a politician. There is, when they say he has no flair, no special flair. What does Garwe provide, Kwauri, when you listen to Garwe Ashtaura? I mean, when somebody descends to insults, you know, I will not insult anybody. That's not the issue. But I'll describe political situations there. But Garwe is a political non-entity. He is not even acceptable in Mashist. He's not a chairperson. He's just an imposition.
As we close, Honorable Kasukuwere, if you had an opportunity to sit in the same room with President Emmerson Mnangagwa, what would you say to him?
Shiragazandara. Paper. Make peace with your comrades who feel you have been unfair to them. You have allowed certain things to happen, insults against them, which they take personally, by the way. I would say to him, make peace with the fact that you have a family, you have your own legacy. There's nothing wrong when the president says, comrades and friends, I realize I've lost confidence in the country from my peers. I've therefore decided, in the interest of my party, to step down. There's nothing wrong with that. Mahatma Gandhi did it. But it's still 20 years later, he became prime minister of what? If you think it's no longer working, it's untenable, pull out.
What role do you think you have to play in Zimbabwe?
A role is not an individual pursuit, it's what the people assign you.
But as you see it, you have some direction. You think you can play a role in making sure Zimbabwe is
But
better.
as assigned by the people of Zimbabwe,
I want from your heart, what you think, what role do you think you can play?
I think in my heart of hearts, I want to make a contribution to the unity of our people, to responsibly fight for a law, just, and fair society. I think I have a role to play in sharing with my fellow countrymen the experiences of what happened in the past, what is happening, what I've experienced. I think I have a role, like every other Zimbabwean, in a partnership for growing our country. We need, blessed, to evolve a new country that is beyond individuals, but is shaped by the aspirations of our fellow countrymen. I think a role that I even envisage myself is how we should place the young people at the pedestal of an economy. How, as Africans, we must be a proud nation of Zimbabwe, working amongst others, but in total control of our resources, of ourselves, of our direction, where we are masters of one destiny.
You wanted to become president, you put your name on the ballot. Are you still interested in that position?
I put my name on the ballot, but the ballot never put my name on it. Rakanyorwa rakadzimwa mutsamba hanzi rakanyorwa kaizasi ndakanga ndaona paita gap uyagona, you know what I mean. I didn't hide. I don't know. I think I can do a better job than she. Because somebody had to stand up and say, no, but this guy can't continue. We have to step up. Can I find a vacuum? All a bora rungwe sango every day. Even sina kumbora one ndotongo za magani kopinda ndozonera mutu.
During the last days of Mugabe's rule, you were working very closely with Jonathan Moyo to ensure that President Emmerson Mnangagwa does not become president. Are you still working together in this aspect?
It was never me and Jonathan Moyo.
It looked that way.
Well, it looked that way. But the reality of the matter is, it was everybody else in the party who felt he was not fit for purpose. It was not an individual. I also had my own views about ED. Jonathan also had his views, and many others had their own views.
Are you still collaborating?
On what? Views don't collaborate. I hold my view, he holds his view.
Are they still converging?
The views of a better country, I'm sure they should. They should. I don't see how else one would want to have a country in the hands of such a chaotic character. From what I know, Jonathan Moyo, he is somebody who's balanced, who knows what should happen for the country, unless for other reasons, but I would trust that he knows what is in the best interest of the country, and the best interest of the country should prevail.
What is your prediction of Zimbabwe in the next 1 year?
It will be a good country, a very nice country. It will be a country that will come together, unite our people together, focus on the core issues, have better Christmases and Independence Days, bring back the health institutions of our country, fix education, fix agriculture, allow our youngsters who are suffering outside the country to come back home. That for me is the thing that actually, when I actually ask myself, where did we go wrong? I actually had not known the extent to which we had allowed our people to become squatters, scavengers, loiters, abused all over the world. As you move around here, blessed, you'll come across a Zimbabwean with a very difficult story to tell. Powerful story. A story that you ask yourself, but what were we doing? For me, in a year's time, I want to see hope restored. I want to see a country at work. Less noise, but more focus. Where civil servants have a paycheck, they know if they cash it in, they'll get their money. A country not defined by queues at cabs, at so-and-so, but where services are working for the people, everything is being restored, where corruption is not fitted and saluted, where Mbingaism is not a word to be proud about, where drugs, cocaine, does not determine the future of our young people. A year from today,
if President Emerson Mnangagwa was to call you today, reach out to you and say, come home, let's work to fix this country together, would you accept that call?
but he's unemployed, ka? Takatongo fanana. Iwe ukufunga Mnangagwa achine doere kana ukanya sokuti mapa orika. Kune izazana iwe. Zvimadhara zvichigandanga zvega zvataura izvezvo. Zoramba zvimwe hazvo zvidoro zviri muharare muya. Unozvitaura zvizvi zvoga iwe. Wakanya kuti dwe wakagara mumboko. You can start a fight. It's okay. But zvakatotaura paya zvakatopedza. You see, Jesu anotaura magwaro. Ukandouya hamuzivi kuuya kwandichaita. Asi ndichaita sei? Ndogona kuuya ndiri tsine, ndogona kuuya ndiri nyoka, anogona kusvika Jesu pana kuti takashata tasvika sei. Iye Zanu inonzi Timba wakachenjera. Saka kana wazonzwa zvotaura paya kuti uyu ngaachienda uyu. Ratopera basa. Iye Mnangagwa knows what I'm saying. Dai akandidedza akandifonera but Shumba amuchina basa keni. Zanu Kasukuwere waiting, this is not papi. Because the constituency yaita sei. Muri kunzi muri kuba. Vanoti kukanganwa zvakati wandei. Vanoti mune tunyaya twakati kuti tunoda kuti tuongororwe. Akandifonera ndomuti no dai wataura nevanhu magara pasi. Tanga wataura rume ndakuenda. But munoda kuti ndiite seiwo. My comrades, what do you think I must do? Because that's a collective. That's how politics works. If your colleagues are saying they are no longer interested, look, why is the Politburo quiet?
Chris Mtrangwa issued a statement.
When?
A few
you know, Chris, we have had the field day. Namara pira pasaida. Vachivava zvokutadeni. Out there, you're running Samba much. When Chris Samba, you know, Chris loves the press. You know, Chris would have a press conference on Monday, not on Wednesday, but on Friday. Akanwa usiku o taura futhi pa usiku anditi. Asona Chris akutatamba kunyora Chris one page. Chris Mcham. Umzaka Chris. Ingada pa 2-3 hours. Takanga tiri kwakati, but he also has a tendency of exaggerating his role. Ndiyo moyo yasina jaka zvibateko ndo. But you would have done a big job with Papa Bangladesh on the Tagatunzwa. No, this. And I'm telling Chris, he's also in there. Chris knows the truth. Usunga mwana wa mwogo. Akasunga mwana wa Mchangwa. Young man,
Never.
Magai. Kuzatengesa satellite yawu racist to Is that surely something that Neville must have gone to prison for? What is enterprise all about? The young man saw an opportunity which is not tengeseka zvinezvi. Ngazveti tengesezve. Hazvisi kutengeswa here mari. Saka takasungirei mwana uyu. He's going to court today over what? Humiliated. That youngster is just, I defended him, obviously, against the grain. They were defending him. But I looked at that youngster and said, okay, what did he do wrong? I wrote direct to Zambia, Boka my satellites, and it. Whatever, link, Starlink. The other one, so think it's a Kawamba pen, 1,900. I don't go dynamize on it. Chain. 3 weeks. You know, he's not a small boy. You know, goes out with some black marine and fun away. It was not an easy thing for my God. Marina 115 to 120 kgs. To machine. Which he then, in a drunken stupor, Nangagwa, gives a license to somebody else. I said, I'm going to say, I don't put us on the I made a post and then. How do you decide paprika Boganwadoro must cut my channel? Could other decision on Twitter? That's why these war veterans are saying he must go. That message is deep. That message is serious. I know that message is coming from a right place. So whether he likes it or not, this time is over. It might be a question of when and so on. But the biggest constituency is withdrawing the support. The PB is extremely very quiet. I ask Monos Madera to Zanju, Zatu Magodera, Shipindira, Kumarala, Kunz, Manya, Jango, and that's what Garamba. Good Garu, Garumba, Zan Muda. One time I already do Muda. Who listen to Muda? I mean, of all the people. My chairman, Mafana Rukungomanya. Kurara Maje, Angadama double kept by. But they know the truth. They call at night. That you can honor blessed the woman that they told me when they saw you, they go, come on, I can also get them street moods. That's what they're saying. Why didn't Balego say the other day? Zuragadu Yacheto. That's what it's okay. I think you'll be saying,
Honorable, I want to thank you very much for affording us this opportunity to talk to us. Here at Heart and Soul TV and Radio, pride ourselves as a channel that is open for everyone. That everyone must be able to speak and be heard. As a nation, as you were saying, we need to be able to talk to each other, not through each other. And particularly happy that even as the coup was happening in 2017, we were there to report about the issues. And
you're part of the planning.
Sorry?
You're part of the planning.
I was a part of the planning, but certainly I'm an information prostitute. I will sleep with anyone who has information and are willing to share it with us, because our responsibility is to listen to everyone, regardless of who they are. If those who support President Emerson Mnangagwa's attempt to stay in power, or the push that is there for him to stay in power until 2030, if you want to have your space a day and sit with us, we will give you that opportunity to talk to us. This is free talk. We talk here freely. But before I let you go, I want to just ask you to speak from your heart, just under 2 minutes. If there's anything that you want to tell the nation, if you want to talk to the people of Zimbabwe.
I think we have an opportunity to rebuild our country. We have an opportunity to correct the history of our nation by coming together uniting all our people and rejecting forces that are destroying the future of our children. I want to salute Heart and Soul for the work they've been doing in our country, bring us the hidden stories. They might not be the best, but I think they have done the best that they can to give a voice to everybody. I want to thank them for having sought me out to talk to the country and fellow countrymen and encourage you that change is coming and that we must all together march in unison and reclaim our country and rebuild Zimbabwe to be a great nation, restore the hope of the millions in our country, bring about a better society, health delivery institutions, education, and think about those who are outside our country who need to be back home to play their part. Thank you very much.
Any message to Blessed Geza? Not Blessed Mhla.
Blessed. Chimdara chidish takas international intelligence. No, Mdara, you have done well. Ne vamwe Mdara zikukodera zvako zviya. Matipa mvuri. Vamanyika vanoti tanzwa kudzirwa. Saka we start from here to work together. You have invited us to come back home. I want to thank you very much. We will take that offer and come back home, work together. Nobody must be excluded. The time to include everybody in the country, as you were saying in the press conference, well done, Comrade Geza and other comrades, your apprehensions and so forth. We heard you and what you think must happen to the country and leaving a better future for your people as a legacy. We really salute you, and so keep up, Comrade Geza and the comrades. Sisonke.
Amazing. Now, our YouTube channel is currently sitting on 15 million views, 74,000 subscribers. Our Facebook page and over social media, our reach goes beyond 40 million views. But this is because you support the work that we do. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share so that we ensure that the message is heard across the country. This is and this will always be the Free Talk, in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom, here on Heart and Soul TV and radio. And this week, we have been broadcasting to you from Cape Town, where we have been having conversation with Honorable Saviour Kasukuwere. I think you've heard this message. But what is important for all of us in Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe does not belong to one person. Zimbabwe cannot be built by one person or one person's idea. We need to come together, even if we don't agree. Let us make sure that ideas are supreme and we hold and stand together to fight for our motherland so that it can be better than everyone else on the globe. Now, this is and this will always be the Free Talk, in proud partnership, the Frederick Newman Foundation. Until next time, thank you for joining me. Thank you very much, Honorable, for your time.
Thank you very much.
Kutengo wewe kuwa kutenga